How to build awesome websites without code.
Hey, what's up Musers? This is John at Muse for You, here to help you build awesome websites without code. And I know it's been a few weeks since I've made a video tutorial. I've just been traveling a bit, and I'm currently working on a video series on how to build a website from beginning to end in Adobe Muse. It is a series, it's multiple videos, and I think many will find it useful on how to build a website from beginning to end. And all the assets are included as well, so you can follow along with me on how to build the website. In the meantime, I have been working on widgets, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to go over the gradient text widget found at museforYouShop.com. So here we have the gradient text widget, which allows you to add animated gradients to your text and regular gradients to your text. So here's the first example. This is an animated gradient, so we can see it goes from kind of pink to yellow. So here it's going to yellow, and then it goes back to pink. So it's a really fun widget. It's really great for titles and headlines in your Adobe Muse website. And then I have a few more styling things that I've done here on this example. You can also add a regular gradient which doesn't animate. So here we can see the gradient is from this pink color to the yellow, and it's not animating. And then the preview page, we have a few examples. So you can add text with gradients to your Adobe Muse website. Great for headings and titles. You can change the font type, size, weight, tracking, leading, and alignment of the text. You can select two colors for the gradient and set the gradient angle. And here are a few more text with gradients. All right, and I'll go here back to shop. Here you can click add to cart to purchase individually. You can also subscribe and get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year by clicking subscribe here, or you can subscribe with PayPal. Here's the preview page that I just went over. Here are the features included and the widget options. Here's the community section if you had any questions about the widget, and the video will be here once it's finished. All right, so I'll jump right into Adobe Muse and showcase how to use the widget. So here I'll go to Adobe Muse. Here's what the example looks like. So first I'll go to File, New Site, and I'll click OK, and I'll double click on the home page. All right, and the first thing I want to do is go to the library panel. So the library panel is here to the right, so I'll click on the library panel. If you don't see the library panel, you can go to Window and click on Library. All right, and then here in the library panel, I'll type in gradient text. So here we have the gradient text widget, and we have the animated gradient text widget. The first one I'm going to go over is the gradient text widget. So here I'm going to click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website. So right away we have gradient text. Here we can see it says Muse for You. And if I go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, we can see the text there, Muse for You. So I'll just go over the widget options a bit. So here we have the first option is instance, and then we have the instance number. And each new gradient text requires a unique instance number if it has different colors. So if you had multiple gradient text with different gradients, you just want to make sure that it has a unique instance number. And that's actually down here as well. Each new gradient text must have a unique instance number. Okay, and then we have the text options here. So there's a lot of options that you can add to the text. So the first one we have is paragraph tag. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but basically, H1 is a headline, and then you have H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6, which are subheads and are less important titles in the website. So H1 is the most important titles on your website, and then as you go down in importance of the titles, you would either give it an H2 to an H6 tag. The P tag is for regular paragraphs. I set it to default to H1 because I think gradient text looks really nice for headlines. All right, and then here you can enter the text, so I can change the text here. I can add text, awesome, Muse for You, awesome websites, plus no code. So that we can see the text has been added. And then for the font size, we can change the font size. 1 EM equals 16 pixels. So this is actually 48 pixels here. 3 EM is equal to 48 pixels. Then we have font weight. So the font weight, it works with certain fonts. If you set it to none, the predetermined font weight that you select from the web font will be used. If the font doesn't have, let's say, different variations of the font, you can select it and then work with the font weight. So 400 is normal for the font weight. Anything less than 400 is thinner, and anything greater than 400 is bolder. And then we have letter spacing or tracking, and that is the spacing in between the letters, and it's in pixels. And then we have the line height. So the line height, or leading, is dependent on the font size. So because the font size here is 3 and we have the line height set to 1, the line height will actually be 3 EM. So it's actually dependent on the font size here, which is in EM. If I were to set the leading to 2, the line height would be 6 EM. So it would be the font size times the line height. So the line height equals font size times the value that's in here. So the line height is the spacing in between the lines in the text. Okay, and then we have text transform, and let me set this back to 1 actually here. We have text transform. You can set it to none, lowercase or uppercase, and you can align the text to the left, center, or right. Okay, and then here we have the gradient options. So you can set the, let me go down here. You can set the gradient angle, the color, the location, and the opacity of each color. And then for color 2, you can change the color, location, and opacity. And then we also have IE fallback. So gradient text doesn't work in Internet Explorer. In Internet Explorer browsers, so you can select a text color for the fallback. And this is the color that the text will be in those browsers. Microsoft Edge does support gradient text, so that's all set. It's just Internet Explorer browsers that don't support gradient text. And that's actually in here as well in the widget. Here, so Internet Explorer does not support gradient text. The fallback text color will be used instead. Alright, so those are the widget options. So I'll go ahead and reproduce those examples that I showed in the beginning. So let me delete here, this text here, so it just says Muse for you. And now I want to change the font type for the text. So to do that, I'll just click on the widget, then I'll go to the text option here, the built-in text option in Adobe Muse. I'll click the drop down and I'll select any web font. So it can't be a system font, it must be a web font. And there's actually a font here that I'm going to use. It's called Acer BAT Gris. Kind of an interesting name, but we'll use that there. And then for the font size, I'm going to set it to 12, which I believe is 192 pixels. And I'll just stretch it to the size, to the width of the web page here. There we go. So there we have it, and I'll resize the widget container there. I'm going to go ahead and change the color. There's a few different colors that I want to use for this text. So I'm going to go to my CC libraries over here to the right, and I have these 5 colors here. So I'm going to hold down Shift, select them all, right click, and add to swatches. And I actually think I set this to a fill, so let me go back into the fill option here and set none. Set the fill to none. Alright, so I have these colors added to my swatches panel. So now I can go into the widget, go to the gradient section, and change the color, because I can see that those colors have been added to my swatches panel. So I'm going to change this one to pink, and this color too, I'm going to change it to yellow. Okay, and just like that, the text has changed. So the next thing I want to do is center that text within the page. So to do that, I'm going to bring in the browser centering widget. So I'm going to go to my library panel here to the right, and I'm going to type in browser centering. Okay, and here's the widget. So I'll just click, hold, and drag and place right there. Okay, so we notice in this widget the graphic style name is center 1. I do want it fixed in the center because I'm not going to be scrolling in the website. I just want the text to be in the center of the website and stay there, fixed in the center. So now I want to apply the graphic style name center 1 to the text here, to the widget. So I'll click on the widget, then I'll go to the graphic styles panel here to the right. I'll create a new graphic style by clicking on this icon here, and we can see it created a new graphic style called style. So I'm going to double click, and I'm going to call this gradient, or center 1, because that's the name that is in this widget here, which is center 1. Okay, so now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we can see the text there. So we can see that it's not in the center and it's going down. It kind of looks a little bit odd, and that's because the widget is set is stretched to the browser width. So what I want to do with this widget here is go to the built-in resize option and set the resize to none. And we're going to see how that looks now. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there we have it. That looks much better. It's not resizing, and it just stays in that position. We saw that it kind of looked weird, and that's because it was set to stretch to browser width there. But here we have the text nicely centered and looks good, and it has that gradient to it. So now that we've worked with the gradient text widget, I'll go ahead and add the animated gradient text. So let me go to the plan view. I'm going to right click, duplicate page, and I'll just call this example 2. If I can spell that right, example 2. And I'll double click, and I'll go ahead and delete this one here. So now I'll go back into the library panel, and I'll type in gradient text, and I'll bring in the animated gradient text widget. So I'll click, hold, and drag right in there. And here we can see initially there's no text in it because it actually needs the animated gradient code for the text to show up. So everything is the same in this widget, all the text options. The only difference is the animated gradient code section, where in the first one it was just the gradient section. This is the animated gradient code section, and this is where you'll enter the code. You'll click on Gradient Animator to go to the Gradient Animator website, and that's where you'll get the code for the animated gradient. So here I'm going to click on Gradient Animator, and I'm going to add some colors here. So I have a text file with a few colors. I'm just going to copy the hex code, and then I'm going to add color by clicking here, Add Color, and I'll paste that right in there. Click Select, and then I'll grab one more color in here. Command C to copy. I'll click on Add Color and paste the code in there, the hex code in there. And then you can set the speed of the gradient. So I'm going to set it to about 10 seconds. And you can set the angle as well. So I'll just make it kind of a diagonal there. And then to preview it, you can click on Preview to see the animated gradient. So this is the animated gradient that's going to be in the text. And to copy the code, there's a few steps here. So the first thing you want to do, you want to start at linear for the gradient code. You don't want to start here at background. So first start at linear, the word linear, and then copy this first section here. This keyframe section is going to go in the keyframe section of the widget. So we want to start at linear, copy, then hit Command C to copy, and then I'll go back into the widget, and here in the animated gradient section, I'm going to hit Command V to paste. So here we can see it says enter gradient code, start at the word linear. So I'll select that, hit Command V to paste, and then enter. And just like that, the text shows up. So now I want to enter the gradient keyframe code. So I'll go back into the website and I'll copy these keyframes here. I'll hit Command C to copy, and yeah, I'll go back here. And you can see it says keyframes in here to let you know that it's the keyframe code there. So I'll hit Command C to copy, go back into the widget, and here in the gradient keyframe code, I'll hit Command V to paste that code in there. All right, and that's it. So now I'm just going to restyle this text. So I'll select the widget, I'll go to the text option, I'll say ACR BAT Gris, I'll set the size to 12, and that should do it. And let me just resize it here. I want to make sure that the widget is at the very top so that it works well with the browser centering. With the browser centering widget, the text or the element needs to be at the very top of the website, and then you apply the graphic style name to it. And let me just make sure that in the resize option it's set to none, or you can right click, resize, and say none. Now I'll apply the graphic style name center 1 to this widget so that it is centered in the browser, because the browser centering widget has the graphic style name center 1. So I'll click here, and then I'll go to the graphic styles panel, and I'll just apply the graphic style center 1 to the widget. So now I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and just like that we have an animated gradient to the text. Looks good. So in the first few examples, we had some more styling options here, which I'll go through fairly quickly now that we've gone over the widget. I'll just add a few other styling elements to the page. So the first thing we notice that there's a gradient background here. So to do that, I'm going to go back into Adobe Muse. I'll go to the library panel, and let me do that again. Library. Here I'll type in advanced gradients. And for this one, I used the advanced gradients full screen, 2 colors. So here I'll click, hold and drag, place right in there. Looks good. And then I'll just add the gradient here. Change the colors. Okay. And then let's see how that looks. I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. And there we have the gradient background. And now I'll add a rectangle behind the text. So I'll create a rectangle. Let me go to the rectangle tool here to the left, and I'll just create a rectangle like so. And let's set the height to 600, and I'll add a stroke. And oh no, that's a corner radius. The stroke is right over here. Yeah, right up here. And I'll set the stroke color to pink, and the fill I'll set it to white. Okay, and now I'll add a gradient to this rectangle. So I'll go to the advanced gradients, and I'll select advanced gradients 2 colors with graphic style. So here I'll click, hold and drag, place right in there, and I'm going to say center 2 for the graphic style name here. And that's because I want this rectangle to be in the center as well. So I'm going to copy the first browser centering widget, and I'm going to change the graphic style name here to center 2. So we have 2 things in the center, and I'll select the rectangle. I'll go to the graphic styles panel, and I'll create a new graphic style, double click, and change it to center 2. So now this rectangle has the graphic style name center 2, which is the graphic style name here in this widget. And I'll just give it some different gradients here. So for the gradients, I'm going to set it to dark blue and dark blue, and I'm going to set the opacity for the second color to 0.5 just to give it a bit more styling there. All right, and I'll right click here, arrange, and send to back. So the text is on the front, is in the front there. So let's see how that looks. File, Preview Page in Browser. And there we have the text with the background there. Looks good. I'll add a shadow to this rectangle here. So I'll click on it, go to Effects, click on Shadow, and for the blur I'll say 46, the angle I'll say 90, the distance I'll say 22, and we'll leave the opacity at 50%. So it has a nice shadow to it. All right, it's looking good. Okay, perfect. All right, and then I'll add a few circles here in the upper right and the upper left hand corner, and I'll actually add a border radius here as well. And let me make this rectangle just a little bit smaller, just like that. Make sure it's in the center. I'll go to my library panel and type in browser border, and I'll bring in the browser border all sides with image. So I'll click, hold and drag, place right in there, and we'll set the border width to 50 and the border color to white. So I'll preview that, File, Preview Page in Browser, and there we have it. So this rectangle feels like it's a bit too large. Yeah, so that rectangle's too large. So let's go in here and set the responsiveness to none. It was set to responsive width, and that's why it looked a bit large. So let's try that. Okay, yep, that's much better. All right, so we have the rectangle in the middle with the text in the center as well. And then I'll just add a few circles for design here in the upper right and in the lower left corner. So I'll go to the rectangle tool, I'll click and hold, and I'll select the ellipse tool. And I'll create an ellipse that's 100 by 100 pixels, just like that. I'll set the color, the fill color, to pink right up here. And let me position it here in the upper right. And then I'll pin it with the pin option to the upper right, and I'll hit Command C to copy, Command V to paste, and I'll place this here in the lower left hand corner, I'll change the color by going to the fill, set it to yellow, and then I'll pin it to the lower left hand corner. Alright, and then let me right click, arrange, bring to front on the text so the text is in front of everything. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and that's it. So we have that nice styled page with the animated gradient text. So we use the animated gradient text widget. We use the browser border, the advanced gradients for full screen, and to add an advanced gradient to this rectangle here, we added a stroke and shadow in Adobe Muse as well. So that's it for this video tutorial. The gradient text is a really fun widget and can add quite a bit of styling to your Adobe Muse website. So to get access to the gradient text widget, you simply go to museforyoushop.com. And here you can click subscribe now, and here you can click subscribe now to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here and subscribe with PayPal. The gradient text widget is right here, and here you can click add to cart to purchase individually, or again you can click subscribe to get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to subscribe with PayPal, you can click here and subscribe with PayPal. The preview page is right here where you can see more of the gradient text. And here we have the features included, the widget options. Here's the community section if you had any questions about the widget, and this video will be right here once it's finished. Okay, so that's it for this video tutorial. Again, I do this to help you build awesome websites without code. If you like this video tutorial, you can subscribe below. Also in the show more section below are links to other resources and links to museforyoushop.com. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.
How to build awesome websites without code.